you're online. Good evening, everyone. I am calling our June 21st meeting to order. Please call the roll.
President Adair,
Present.
Ms. Beckerly. I think Ms. Beckerly is muted.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Brown,
I'm here.
Mr. Cole,
Present.
Dr. Pierce, Vice President Reyes,
Here.
Ms. Vera.
Here.
You have a quorum, Madam President?
Thank you. Will you all please join me in the pledge? Thank you. On our agenda this evening, we have two speakers here in person to talk on agenda items. We will have a brief report from our superintendent, and then we will have a monitoring report on Guardrails 2 and 4. We're also expecting a report from our internal auditor. No report from our treasurer this evening. We have several items on board matters. We then have our consent agenda. We have one speaker for non-agenda item, and then we will have executive session and come back to the main session to adjourn. Is there a motion to approve our agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Are there any questions, changes, additions? Seeing none, without objection, our agenda is adopted. All right, so before we move into our public comment on agenda items, it is our understanding that we have two speakers in our public participation who are both going to speak about agenda item 4, the Superintendent CEO Executive Report about Guardrails 2 and 4, and they would like the board to take action to keep vulnerable youth positions under CEA contracts. I would like to make a statement about how we serve our students. We treasure every student who walks through our doors, regardless of where they attend school or where they reside. We want all students to be successful and will provide them with the tools they need to advance in the classroom and in life. All our students, including our homeless students, receive instruction from our dedicated, licensed teachers. Non-instructional support for our homeless students can be appropriately provided by district non-teaching employees. The district has created new employment classifications within the classified civil service, an academic youth support advocate, and a student services program coordinator to provide these necessary supports to our students and families experiencing homelessness. No student will receive any lesser services than provided in the past. Change, even when challenging, is sometimes necessary. But the bottom line is, we will always keep our students our top priority. Our first speaker this evening is Kevin Bohem. You can please tell me how to say your name when you come up. You will have 3 minutes, to address the board. The topic is Agenda Item 4, Superintendent CEO Executive Report Guardrail 2 and 4. Action, I would like the board to take action to keep vulnerable youth positions under the CEA contracts. Please tell me how to say your last name, sir.
Boom, you said it correctly.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
You may begin when you're ready.
All right. Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Dixon. I appreciate this opportunity to speak with you about a threat to equity in the district, particularly when dealing with vulnerable students. My name is Kevin Bohm, and I am the McKinney-Vento Liaison for Columbus City Schools and serve as a leader on the Project Connect team. If you're not familiar with Project Connect, our program is tasked with identifying and serving students and families in the district that are experiencing homelessness and housing instability. We identify over 2,000 students in the district each year, and 87% of these students reporting as non-white. The Project Connect team is a dedicated group of compassionate individuals, and we strive to serve vulnerable students by removing barriers and ensuring their educational rights. We also help keep the district in compliance with federal McKinney-Vento law. We do this by educating staff, helping parents navigating transportation services, and collaborating with surrounding districts and charter schools by maintaining students in their schools of origin. This is an important role within the district, and just recently, 5 weeks ago to be exact, our staff, along with the foster care liaison and juvenile justice involved youth liaison, were informed by administration that due to an ODE audit and licensing issue, that all of our positions would be reclassified from full-time hourly positions to civil service positions, and that our positions would also be removed from the CEA bargaining unit. Then, 1 week ago, we were informed of how these changes would affect our pay and benefits. Mostly all staff involved will be receiving large pay cuts. We're talking at least $10 an hour up to $20,000 a year reduction in salary to do the same job. Not to mention the changes in their health and retirement benefits. This change was sudden and abrupt, and it has proven to be quite stressful for staff members. And as a leader of this program moving forward, I'm very concerned about how these changes will affect team morale, team dynamics, and consistency to our service consistency of service to our vulnerable students and families. Our vulnerable students deserve the same professional standards, same staffing as the rest of our district students do, and we ask the board to intervene and take a look at this. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you so much for your comments. You are a valuable member of our team. Our administration will follow up with you regarding the issues that you have raised. Our next speaker, who is standing, so I assume that is you, is Ann Bradley.
Amy Bradley.
I'm sorry, it
That's
does
okay.
say Amy. I just misread it.
And two N's and yeah.
Amy Bradley, topic, Agenda Item 4, Superintendent CEO, Executive Report, Guardrail 2 and 4. Action, I would like the board to take action to keep vulnerable youth positions under the CEA contract. You have 3 minutes to address the board. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Dixon, and everybody present. I appreciate this opportunity to address you about an issue near and dear to my heart, one that's important to my professional life, and one that's critical to our community. I want to tell you about my colleagues, actually more than myself. One of them came to Project Connect a little over a year ago, and although I won't name him, people here could realize who he is in his work. He became our hub. He, after serving our country, came to Project Connect, came to Columbus City Schools, and he let us do our valuable regional work out in the community. He's been seen actually running from our office to and from the storage unit to make sure that the kids have their book bags. You know, he finishes the enrollment, gets it done immediately, and then runs to get them shoes, and they see him running. And to a person, our staff, a few who are present today, are just unmatched dedication. They scour the community to fill needs and to build relationships to create and maintain a web of support. And we were recently called to a meeting and told that our entire department will be deprofessionalized, moved to civil service. With a little over 2 weeks' notice, we were told that our pay would be cut up to 30%, that we would be removed from the due process and community inside of CEA, that we will need to swipe in and out with no plan to continue our work in the shelters, in the community organizations, or with our reliable partners in the community. I'm someone taking that 30% pay cut, and I find the short-term implications troubling. Will we maintain the talented staff that currently fights for our most vulnerable youth? How much turnover will this create? But the long-term implications are alarming. Despite the statement that was read that I already heard in the media, actually, it is creating disruption already to the staff and to the students we serve. And it would be a great fantasy to think that we could keep that level of dedication and continuity for our students who absolutely need continuity, because school is perhaps the only place they're getting it. But that is not going to be the case, because if you move these positions to lower pay, just administrative oversight out of CEA, you're going to get less professional staff, more mobile staff, less retention of staff, including some people perhaps in this room. How many of you could weather in 2 weeks' notice a 30% pay cut? There will be disruption. There already has been, I assure you. We should be up with skilled educators, just like a PBIS coordinator or an SEL practitioner or a school social worker or a TESOL staff. Why are our students any less? I can't help but wonder, why do the more vulnerable students deserve less? Less stability, less professionalism, less oversight for the job done, because we ensure federal compliance with law that can't be subject to administrative whim. Why would we destabilize a department that seeks to stabilize education for our most vulnerable youth? How is this equitable? How does it serve the whole child? We are here today to ask you, members of the board, to intervene on behalf of those experiencing homelessness, those in foster care, and those who are justice involved youth. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. You are valuable members of our team. Your comments are important to this board. We will ask the administration to follow up with you. We are listening. Thank you. Okay, we are going to now move into item 4, which is our Superintendent Executive Board Report. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Madam President. Board members and community, I just have some updates to provide from my superintendent's report. So this week, June 20th through the 24th, is Adult Education Week. So ODE, in collaboration with Ohio Department of Higher Ed, is hosting a regional event tomorrow, June 22nd, from 1 to 4 p.m. at Columbus Downtown High School. So the event will recognize teachers from the high school equivalency, adult program, and the 22+ program during a Teacher of the Year ceremony, including 2 CCS teachers who were finalists for the Teacher of the Year award. In addition, an interactive panel discussion will allow attendees to ask questions of graduates, participants, providers, and representatives from several state agencies. Also, today was our summer experience, started today, and we'll go through July 28th. We had more than 6,000 students sign up to stay engaged, learning, and growing throughout the summer. So board members and others, feel free to stop by if you want to see the summer experience in action. Professional development. Since school has been out, our teachers have also stayed engaged, learning and growing throughout various PD opportunities. We had some last week, this week, and we just finished up 2 weeks at Ohio State where teachers embrace STEM skills and strategies to bring to our CCS classroom. So that was a partnership, if you remember, with Ohio State and the President Johnson. We had a kickoff at East High School, and that was our opportunity for our teachers to be engaged in STEM lessons so that these lessons can transfer to our classrooms. Into our community, we also have employment opportunities throughout the district. We've been holding on-site career fairs this month to include instructional assistants, ESL interpreters, substitute teachers, custodial, and food service workers. So still to come, we have transportation tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. At 1560 Moeller Road. So if you're interested in becoming a member of the CCS team, there are lots of opportunities that we would love to have you on. Safety and Security and IT will have a job fair on Wednesday, June 29th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at 3700 High Street. And interested candidates for any of these positions can go online to apply. Again, we're looking for talent to come to our organization. Enrollment, central enrollment is open all summer, and we're encouraging families to enroll now to avoid those long waits in August. So if you know you want to come to Columbus City Schools, please stop by our central enrollment office and sign up to be a part of the CCS family. Transportation, opt-in is required for all high school students this year. So with board approval, we were able to purchase Alpha routing system software, and this will provide route optimization to support an efficient transportation model. So again, we are excited to be able to launch that routing software. And again, for our high school families, please, we're asking everyone to opt in for our high school students. Safety and security, we will continue our efforts to provide safe school environments for all our students and staff by investing in our safe and security team. We will also continue with random wand screenings in our high school buildings and athletic events next year. So we will bring more information about what that will look like in our August meeting, our August update. And there's some important dates to remember. We have our back-to-school free family resource fair. We announced this our last board meeting, but again, Saturday, August 20th on the Fort Hays campus from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. All CCS families will be invited to join us. Imagine the Fort Hays campus would be full of tents and booths from all our community partners who want to share their resources with our students and families to get them ready for a successful school year. So we're really excited about this. And key district departments will also be on hand to address any last-minute needs for our families. And on August 22nd, for 10 a.m. to noon, we're going to have our all-staff convocation. We had our last convocation in 2019, so we're really excited for all of our staff members to come together again. More information will come, but again, that is for all CCS staff members. Our opening staff convocation, August 22nd. And our first day of school, just a reminder, you notice summer is happening. We just want to remind people, our first day of school, Woodcrest Elementary, July 27th, and our traditional calendar for all of our other students would be August 24th. Our kindergartens will have a staggered start. We will once again be observing a uniform kindergarten staggered start schedule for all schools serving kindergarten students in the traditional school calendar. Wednesday, August 24th, Thursday, August 25th, and Friday, August 26th are reserved for a 3-day staggered start for appointment-based assessments and orientation. These days will not count as days of attendance, and attendance entry for kindergarten students is not required on these days. We really want to give our students that opportunity to get acclimated to the teachers and their buildings. For questions regarding the kindergarten staggered start, families can email Greg Winooski or call 614-365-2014 or 419-494-6566, and this information is on our website. Our pre-K start dates, Woodcrest pre-K classes will have orientation on Tuesday, July 28th, and Friday, July 29th. All students will start on Monday, August 1. And our traditional calendar for pre-K locations will have orientation on Tuesday, September 6th, and Wednesday, September 7th, and all students will start Thursday, September 8th, and that is for our pre-K. So just wanted to touch base, just bring those announcements to our community. Since we would not have a board meeting in July, we would come back in August. We just wanted to make sure we get that information out, important dates, and again, that employment information for those who wish to be a part of the CCS team.
Are there any questions for the superintendent? Okay. Vice President Reyes, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you, Superintendent Dixon. I was just wondering, you touched a little bit on transportation. What does that look like? I know that you're asking people to opt in, but what does that look like for the start of the year? I know we're a couple months, sorry, students and teachers, we're only a couple months away from the start of school. So how are we doing there?
Good evening, Board President Adair, Vice President Reyes. So for the new routing software, we have our routes by the end of this month. We should have those routes complete. We have approximately 547 drivers with another 32 who are going through training. We also have plans in looking at the increased use of vans for some of our special education students, because it's a better way, particularly of some of our higher needs students, of getting to, getting to school. And we're working with OPSI in partnership and looking at more ideas for getting out in the community to do more recruitment, not just for drivers, but for custodial and other positions as well. So that we're ready for the start of school.
Thank you, Mr. James. So I noticed on the slide that we talked about having a recruitment fair. What is our ask of I guess what's our ask as far as how many drivers, custodian staff? I mean, are we looking, people need to come and start applying, there's limited jobs, are we looking to recruit several individuals?
No, I mean, for custodial staff, we're probably looking at, with our ESSER budget requests, in essence, approximately 100 positions. Some of those were in the last round of ESSER 35, which would serve our secondary schools. And we actually had a meeting with OPSI today, and that's going to be the focus, getting the full-time help, and also looking at the possibility of taking some of those ESSER 2 positions that were funded that run out, I believe, in '23, and potentially starting some part-time positions to backfill. We're sure some of our regular staff will want some of the new positions and backfill that. The other part, going back to transportation, is we're also looking at some other ways that we can increase our drivers. One partnership with HR, who was on that call as well, was actually fanning out into the community and talking with some of our faith-based partners to try and get, things, there are some churches that still do old-fashioned bulletins to put flyers in there on Sunday to really reach out and try and get more people interested in the positions that we have open.
Thank you. Mr. James, are we anticipating needing 100 more bus drivers, or are we waiting till May 3rd, May 30th and the end of the month? Or
We will, that will continue to be an issue for us, because every other district around here is doing the same thing. So what I told them today, we better go after as many drivers as we can, because we'll also, there is a certain level of attrition with drivers as well. So I am concerned about that, and we need to just continue to push those numbers up of getting people in the pipeline.
how is retirement affecting our recruitment?
There are some people who will come back from retirement, but there are some, it's been a very difficult time for a lot of organizations. People are just walking away from the workplace, so I can't rely on some of our retired people to come back and drive. We have been successful with a few this past school year. I think we need to just do a great job of recruiting new people. That's going to be where we'll get more bang for our buck, I believe.
So our community should probably be prepared that there's going to be a lot of recruitment efforts, a lot of communication out there?
Absolutely.
Okay,
And remember, we're also doing a training,
okay.
so we can train our team members, and we're paying all those fees associated with that. So you have an opportunity to be a part of the transportation team and not to be a financial burden on that individual.
Oh, perfect. And then as we prepare, because again, we're about 2 months away, sorry to keep saying that, 2 months away from the beginning of the year. I know a lot of our parents right now are looking at school supplies and some of those things. When is that list coming out? What are our efforts to work with the community on school supplies?
Yeah, so those school supply lists will be posted soon, and that is some of the things that we want to be available at the fair. And so when families come to the fair, they'll be able to pick up school supplies. And we're also looking at partners who are thinking about adopting some schools and be able to provide those supplies for those specific schools. But more to come as we're working with our partners on what that will look like.
And then my last question, and then I'll yield to my colleagues. Dr. Dixon, we know that, recruitment is difficult in all levels of every organization right now. And even teachers and substitutes are being highly recruited in various areas. Are we also looking to fill those positions? How are we doing in those areas?
Yeah, and I have Mike DeFabo, and Mike, if you can come on and kind of share some of the recruiting efforts. We've had a lot of recruiting fairs. We've been given jobs on the spot, a lot of positive energy around that strategy. Mike?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, we've been recruiting nonstop for teachers and certificated positions. I think last count, we had 70 fairs that we went to, which is pretty phenomenal. I don't know that we've ever hit that many. I can send you an overview of where we are with our overall certificated fill rates. I'll send that information through Dr. Dixon to send to you all. I know that we just filled, we had a question about school counselors. We backfilled all of those positions. We actually had 85 teed up, just in case we saw a large group leaving, which we have not yet. We know that there are some dates coming up when more staff may be leaving in the next couple of weeks. And so we're watching that closely. We do have a pool of candidates. And so all of our buildings had last Friday as kind of the date where we wanted everything filled at the building level in the department level. So we are processing some last minute hires that came out of that. And so we should have firmed up numbers for you by the end of the week. But if anyone is interested in working for us, obviously, please reach out. We have lots and lots of opportunities. As Dr. Dixon was saying earlier, we have job fairs coming up. We're going to have some information about community job fairs that are coming up in July and August, as Dr. James was talking about earlier. And we just had a job fair for our substitute teachers. I believe we offered 40 jobs, which is pretty phenomenal. That's more substitutes than many of the school districts have around here total. So we're going to keep recruiting substitutes. And I think to what Dr. James said earlier, we're going to keep recruiting and filling in some of these spaces where we're seeing turnover, especially in our transportation space and our custodial space.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Board Member Beckerly has a question.
Dr. Dixon or Dr. James, I loved hearing about all of the different strategies about trying to address the transportation problem. I'm wondering if you could share them with us, following up at this meeting and sort of your progress, at what point are we more concerned, less concerned? I'd like to see how it's going during the course of the summer, because I think sometimes things stall in the summer and we can't let this stall. So I'd like the board to get, some sense of the progress and what's working and what isn't, that kind of thing.
Okay. Will do.
Are you finished? You're not here, so you can't nod at me.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Well, I did have something else on security. I can ask my other question too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Kind of along the same lines as what Board Member Reyes was asking about transportation, is my question about security. Sort of, do we have a plan? How are we planning on handling it? It's 2 months away and we need to hit the ground running. So I wanted to know a little bit more about that.
If I may, yeah, there are some changes in security rules in terms of the committees that we have to have at each of our schools. We're working through that. We're also working with Dr. Chanel Jones from Franklin University, who will be doing a training session for administrative staff August 2nd and 3rd, covering some of the things that we've seen in the news to refresh. I've also reached out to another district a little ways up north for some resources that were used in there in terms of information that all of our staff, our teachers, our principals can use in terms of flip charts and really aligning it to the incident command process that law enforcement uses so that our staff know what to do at the beginning of an emergency, and then once the incident command in terms of police, fire, whether it's marshals or whoever arrive on site, then know what their, what processes and procedures are going to be done. And then after the administrative staff and some of our support staff get that training, we'll then move into our teaching staff. There are some things we just need to make sure that as a district at the leadership level, everyone is on the same page and clear, and then proceed from there to filter it down to the rest. We also met with representatives of the Ohio School Safety Center, which offered a lot of resources to the district as well, and we'll be using those resources prior to the start of school to get prepared for the school year as well.
All right, so that, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And again, I'd love to have sort of, not a song and verse, but just in writing, this is what we're doing and this is what we have kind of teed up to be prepared so that we have a sense of what the plan is. But I was also worried about security, not in terms of a school shooting as much as just the security in general and safety and security of our students and, the issues that we've been addressing all this past year. And what's the plan to try to address some of those going forward now that we have a breather and can regroup?
They're shaking their heads. I don't know if you can see that.
Good. I can't-
I mean, yes, they're shaking their head. Yes, they'll get that.
Okay.
No, I don't know what she can see from that side. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's funny. When I talk, I see two of me, and it's a little unnerving,
Well,
even for me.
Dr. Pierce, did you have a question?
Thank you so much for this report. So my questions kind of go along with my colleagues' questions. Want to go back to the safety and security question as it relates to the wanding. Specifically want to request that we have that policy and procedure in writing and that goes through our policy governance committee as well to ensure that, again, that policy is implemented with fidelity, but also that our community knows what guidelines we're following with that. My question also relates to when we talk about having security or police officer present at our events, do we need to enter into any MOUs with the Columbus Police Department for football games, for bowling matches, for swim meets? I mean, we should be treating all of our athletic events the same. Last year, we didn't show some of that sameness. There were some officers at some events and no officers at others. So I would like to know at what threshold are we determining officer presence? And then also, what is the time frame at which we need to enter into those MOUs with our Columbus Police Department? The same way that question is posed for our athletic events, I pose it for our schools in general. Throughout this last school year, we had a number of incidents occur at schools. And so what is the threshold at which we determine that it's necessary to move forward to have some type of police presence, if not just in the building, but around our buildings to make sure that there's safety? So again, those two key questions. Have we looked into those questions to this point? Do we have any responses?
I can say from a previous meeting with Dr. Dixon and the police chief, because of their buyouts, I don't know that we're going to get officers assigned back to schools, number one, without an MOU, but number two, they don't have the staffing. And I think you bring up a good point. I think what part of the driving factor of having that hit or miss this past year was the availability of officers, to be there for a game and what have you. We are looking into some research on whether we can do something similar to Detroit or I think Memphis and Cleveland Municipal in terms of their own security force that could be armed. There's also some questions but that is in very preliminary research stages, which we then have to come back to the board to have a discussion, because those are some policy and guideline implications as well, particularly in terms of our insurance liability and whether carriers are going to be willing to insure that risk.
So I'm not sure how we kind of pose this, but I think it merits a conversation that's probably deeper than we could have right now at the table around how we're going to move forward with options that are available. So what I'm hearing our administration tell me is that after discussing this with the Columbus Chief of Police, we may not have the manpower to provide security for our schools if we want Columbus police officers. But we know very serious infractions are happening in our schools. If we do not have the manpower locally, can we work with other locales to get that manpower, with private security companies? What are our options? So I would like to know what those options are. I think it merits a conversation for the whole board?
For the whole board, yes, because those contracts would be something the board would have to enter into. So yes, you're correct.
My next question then relates to the transportation. So we have to make sure that all of our high school families know that they have to opt in. But also, we have to make sure that they know if there are any special cases. In point, I think about all of our students that are attending lottery schools, but then get on the bus from their lottery school to go to their home schools to participate in athletic practice and athletic competitions. So, given that that happens, do our families then have to opt in for that to happen? Or because their students are a part of the team, or are they automatically enrolled in that option? So I think we need to be mindful of those special circumstances. Have we thought about that? Do we have a response to that?
I'll follow up with you on that. I know Dr. Klein, and she is here. Dr. Klein, about what we did with those special circumstances with our students who are in lottery schools. There she is.
I think you're on mute, Dr. Klein. We can't hear you. We saw the smile.
Dr. Dixon. Thank you, Dr. Dixon, and thank you, Dr. Pierce, for the question. We did think about our athletes, and we do want to ensure you that their transportation back to their home school for not only participation in athletics, but for participation in clubs will be honored. And I worked that out with our transportation Director Rob Weinheimer before he left. So that is taken care of.
Awesome. Dr. Klein, do they have to opt in for that to be honored?
They do not, ma'am. That was something that we worked on prior to the opting in. The opting in is just for transportation to school and home during their off season.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
My next question then relates to Vice President Reyes' question around supply list. We know that families budget for school supplies and school clothes, and we've been fortunate enough here in the state of Ohio to have a tax-free day. I'm one of those parents that takes advantage of that. So is there any way we can get families the list of supplies that they need, understanding that community partners can help us, but also understanding that parents budget and look forward to that day?
Yeah, we'll get those lists out as soon as possible, and I'll let you know when they're available.
Thank you. This question's a little bit tougher. As we know that we're in the endemic and COVID-19 will be with us, is it possible that we can also receive an update on what our COVID-19 health protocols will be prior to the start of school?
Yes.
And then last but not least, as it relates to our substitutes and really the recruitment of employees, have we thought about our retention plan? We do a good job of recruiting and getting people in the door. How are we going to retain and keep them in this year, in this climate, and in terms of even Dr. James saying people are just walking away from their jobs?
Yeah, so I can have Mike come back on and talk and discuss the strategies. But one of the things is, as he stated, as Dr. James stated, it's been tough, and we see that people leaving districts and going other places. I talked to a colleague that was in tears last week because of the number of almost all of the principals in his district left to go to smaller districts. And he was in tears about how in the world did we do that. So I think, we're working on those strategies to keep people, but we want our people to stay with us. And we are having conversations with our team members. But Mike can talk a little bit more about our strategy. But we want our people to stay with us. But we know that there are other opportunities that people are leaving and going, getting promotions, going to other places. But we're still recruiting. We have our Grow Our Own programs and administration. So we have our leadership intern programs. We're partnering with local universities to increase the opportunities for people to get certificated in other areas. We talked a little bit about that at our last meeting with the partnership that we have with, not Artavine, with the other college.
Ohio Dominican?
Yes.
ODU?
Yes. So we increasing those opportunities for people who want to stay in the organization, but maybe want to do something different and provide in ways that they can get certificated. But we want our people to stay with us. But Mike, you want to talk a little bit more about our retention strategies?
I think you said a lot of that well. Obviously, we'll be working on all of our wellness offerings and how we're adapting those to support our staff and moving toward this total reward space. I also want to acknowledge that addressing organizational culture is going to be a huge driver for retention strategies. And so I know that we have a partnership coming up with Castle, but I think that will be crucial to our ability to support our new and current staff.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Questions? Michael? I have some questions. Transportation, I know this year we were unable to provide that extra transportation for latchkey to transfer between schools, as well as after-school programs like with Park and Rec. Are we going to be able to do that this coming year?
I don't know where the one piece of information we're waiting on is going to be the rosters from the charter, non-publics, and parochials. And so depending on where those numbers are, they will go into the equation too. So that's something I'll have to get back through Dr. Dixon to answer that question.
Do we have a timeline on when we think? Because again, parents need to start to plan.
Right. I believe the deadline for those charters to get their list is early July, and so we should know sometime, I think, in mid-July what we can do in terms of those types of services. And I know one of the issues is as we had a discussion about this, where some people want different stops. If it's every day of the week, that's one thing, but when every other day it changes, that can cause a problem.
That was a separate question. So yes, but so your answer is still the same for the latchkey?
Yes.
And the after-school okay. My next question is something that is talked about a lot in our district. That is air conditioning. Now, I know the plan is that we will have all but 2, maybe 1, schools that will have air conditioning by the beginning of school, but we also know that we have air conditionings that are being repaired, and we need parts, and we need labor, and where are we with our projections for the start of school? I mean, it's hot right now. It's going to be hot in August. What are we thinking?
So the 2 projects just got started for the summer. I'll be providing reports to Dr. Dixon on the progress of those. And then for the other 2 that aren't being done this summer, we are actually starting early on the design. Those were, one of those buildings had supply chain issues. I'm not aware of any supply chain issues with the projects that are underway this summer. But we'll be monitoring those, and I'll be doing some visits to those sites as well. And just while we're talking about it, it's overall, that was a conversation we also had earlier today about it's not just about the air conditioning, the condition of buildings, making sure that all the mulch is done, that the interiors are clean. And I don't want Dr. Dixon to get on my case about the power washing and things like that from last year. As I just started. So we are working through and making sure that all the supervisors understand the accountability that we need to have in place for all of our people and our contractors.
On the switching kind of now to the HR side, do we have a list or status of all the high need open positions that we have?
Yes, Mike, if you can come back on, please. Yes, nodding, yes.
Yes, we do. Yes, I can send that to you. We actually have a real-time dashboard that updates now for all of our hiring managers. So we can send that information your way.
Okay, thank you for that. Did you have one more question, Vice President?
Thank you. I just want 2 follow-up questions. How will we as the board or the community be updated about the start of school while we're out this next month?
So we would continue to, use our social media channels. We will post things on our websites. I'm sure letters would go on. We would continue our letters to our families. We can still, I don't know if they could be weekly, maybe bi-weekly, but we would still communicate and use robocalls, et cetera, to make sure families are updated as much as possible.
So families should be expecting a letter, if they're not receiving a letter of what's going on, where their child is, what they need, supplies, transportation, et cetera. They should be calling where and whom.
Well, first, our building principals, they're back August 1, so they off and running to give that information to our families. Before then, we update the website pretty regularly, and if we need to send some information out from any department, we would get those things out to our families, especially around transportation. So we will make sure that we would communicate, over-communicate. We have over 100 family ambassadors. So we'll be utilizing our family ambassadors to coordinate messages to our families.
And Dr. Dixon, as a parent, will they be able to get information off the parent portal? Information like, this is my child's supply list, this is my child where they are in the, as far as transportation, I signed them up, I didn't sign them up. Sometimes those are the questions we get, knowing full well that August 1st, now that we said it, there's probably going to be 100 parents calling the principal, and they may be overwhelmed. So is there anywhere, if I'm a parent that's self-sufficient or wants to be self-sufficient, as a parent, can we utilize the portal to say, here's transportation, here's supply list?
I don't know, and I asked Dr. Klein, where's the supply list housed? I don't have the answer to that one.
Hi, Dr. Dixon. In response to Vice President Reyes's question, the supply list is always on our website. However, just so you know, our building principals do a fantastic job of putting this on the parent portal section of Infinite Campus so that it is given in more than one section so that they can readily access their grade level information. So that is also put on the school's homepage as well. And then our communications department does a great job of putting it on our district website as well. And by the way, all of the information on next year's grade level and transportation will be available starting August 8th on the parent portal.
That is a wonderful birthday, a wonderful day, I mean. August 8th is a great day. I just hope, Dr. Dixon, I've been following a couple other districts around the nation, so we get some newsletters and so forth, where there have been some community partners that have stepped up and been able to supplement some of our some of their schools, some of their districts with some of these supply items. I hope that that's something that we'll be looking into. Yes, thank you.
Board Member Beckerly has some more questions. Before she asks her question, though, I do want to say I did get my school supply list already today in the mail. Oh, from my school, so we're ready. Board Member Beckerly.
Just kind of looping back to trying to avoid some of the concerns that arose last year during at the beginning of school. So one that occurs to me is I'd like to know what the plan is, or do we have a plan? Like if we know it's hot and we know some buildings are likely to have their air conditioning fail, is there any way we can identify that ahead of time or let parents know, or somehow or other not be letting parents know at the 11th hour that their building's closed because of the heat? I mean, I don't know what it is exactly, but we can't solve all these problems, but we could probably communicate better and earlier. So I'd like to know, or I'd like to know if there's a plan or what the plan might be. Same thing along the lines of transportation, as they're getting the glitches out. And, last year we had kids that were, 2 hours late and we couldn't tell the parents where they are. I'd just like to know that there's some plan that we can communicate better about that. So even though we can't avoid all the transportation glitches because of, bus driver shortage and all of the other challenges that we have, that we're at least communicating better with our families who aren't worried about, wondering where their children are, or worried about that. So I guess that's part of what I would like to see. Some sort of a plan that's addressing some of the, struggles we had last year with school opening. So don't need it now, but I'd just like to know that it's in place and we've thought about it and we've got a response, so kind of it won't happen again. I'm assuming the contact tracing issues won't happen again because I think we've got that all resolved. But just things like that, I don't know if we'll have COVID protocols or what they'll be like. God only knows. I'm in a COVID protocol at the moment myself, so we'll see. But just anticipating all of those things and a plan about how to handle them is what I would like to see ahead of time. And then I just have a question about the summer experience today and special education. And this is probably more of a, it'll need to be followed up, but concerns about, I've heard from community members concerns about transportation and concerns about students being assigned to the wrong category of special ed and then not being able to attend at all and just glitches along those lines. I'd just like to follow up with someone afterward about if we've gotten that straightened out.
Okay, thank you. I'll make sure someone follows up with you tomorrow, Kara.
Thank you.
Board Member Vera.
Yeah, so also kind of in alignment with summer experience, I had the opportunity to go this morning to one of the sites. They did a fantastic job with just getting students in. But one of the things that was brought to my attention that our entering pre-K students did not qualify for transportation services, and a lot of parents did not know that. And so I don't know if that was something that was communicated, or typically what is our policy for, or our protocol for entering pre-K students who are signed up for summer experience, but they're now, well, and maybe they were told at the beginning, so I don't know, I'm just asking, but they were not aware signing up that they didn't qualify for transportation. And so is that the case throughout the district for the summer experience?
I have to inquire because these are students who haven't been with
Right,
us,
they're
right?
entering.
They're entering. Yeah. We'll look into it and follow up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other question as it relates to just, we're putting a lot of emphasis on the principals, but we also know that we are getting a lot of new principals in buildings. And some buildings still have not identified who the new principal would be. So what is kind of our strategy around, updating parents as to who in fact is their new principal? What does that process look like? When our new principals are officially starting, what's the plan to communicate with parents just so that there is a formal introduction? I know I received a robocall informing me about my child's leadership change, but I think that was something, it was just a quick robocall from that person. So what is our process for updating the community as far as what is principals looking like in our buildings this year? And do we have what we need to start school in a couple of months?
Yeah. So what and I said Mike can give us the number of principals, but what we've done in the past is once we identify who the leader would be, we share that out with our families, but also we put it on our website and kind of introduce those principals to the organization and to their buildings. We do have, I think, a few schools that we're still finalizing who will be in a leadership capacity because we have some principals that have taken on new opportunities elsewhere. But we, fortunately, especially for our elementary, we have a pipeline with our leadership intern program. So we have a pipeline for people to fill in some of those leadership opportunities for us. This year, it'd be very different than it has been in the past. Normally, we will have the majority of our leaders selected. By now, we've had a few late in the past. But this year is going to be quite different from before. But again, we would notify our families as soon as possible, normally with a letter to our families who the new leader is, et cetera. But I'll follow up with that in writing when I meet with Dr. Chapman, and we'll make sure that we get that information to the board members about what that looks like, the onboarding, et cetera.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Okay. Thank you. So, AJ, are you on? I've been trying to text you and
Yes,
you're not
ma'am.
responding. Okay. So we only have AJ for 2 minutes because we only had him for an hour anyway. So I don't know what we would like to do with this monitoring report. Considering I have 2 board members at home, 1 board member just must have left on an emergency, and I'm not sure we all did our homework, to be quite honest.
Can we move it?
So,
Move it. It's a guardrail. AJ?
Yes, I'd love to be able to join you for this as you all start diving into your guardrail monitoring work. And so particularly given that the board is not at full strength in person this evening, I would greatly enjoy if you all would add this to a agenda of a future meeting so I can be with you.
So,
So I would make a motion to table our guardrail discussion for a future meeting.
item 4.2, is there a second?
Second it here.
Can we discuss it?
Yes, now we can discuss it. It's been moved and seconded. Go ahead,
Second.
Brown. Oh,
The one thing that I'm worried about is, I think that there's lots of good reasons to table it, but it kind of gets back to this, well, when are we going to do it? And, I know, if I mention July, I'll get shut down, but we got to make sure we put this on the calendar. And it means we're going to have to do more in August, and just, that's part of what it means.
we'll have to do 2 meetings in August. And we have the information now, so,
That's true. I'm just highlighting that fact.
I know, you're right, you're holding us accountable. That's what we need to do. Okay,
Jen?
so we have a motion and Mr. Brown?
Yes, just briefly. I don't think July is or should be as sacrosanct as it sounds. I have no problem with meeting in July. I don't want to disrupt administrative vacations and holidays and things of that sort. But if those folks aren't available, I fully understand holding till August. But if it's just the board and superintendent, I'm not sure that's the case.
Thank you for those thoughts. We have been trying to look at dates in July for our retreat, so we are looking at July for certain things. We'll work on it.
Whittling away.
Thank you. All right, so there's been a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Ms. Beckerly?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes,
Mr. Cole?
Yes, with a stern push for making this on the agenda in the very near future.
Vice President Reyes?
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
President Adair?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, thank you, AJ. All right, we're going to go ahead and move to
Always.
item 5. Turning it over to Auditor Smith. Hello.
Hello. Hey, there we go. Wanted to give them time to get my presentation up. So we'll start on slide 3, please. Thank you. President Adair, Vice President Reyes, members of the board, my report this evening has 2 distinct parts. First is an overview of the May 22nd Audit and Accountability Committee meeting. And the second is a more detailed look at how the Office of Internal Audit generated their work plan. At the May meeting, we had a presentation from district staff, Dr. Robin Floyd and Kevin O'Connor, and they were joined by Healthcare Billing Manager Dan Thompson. The presentation outlined the results of a Medicaid pilot project to determine if the district was effectively maximizing its earned reimbursement. The presentation highlighted enhancements for the district to consider in the areas of transportation, having more parents or guardians that are eligible signing up for Medicaid, and there also were some operational efficiencies that could be gained. The committee was very engaged and the presentation was well received. And I believe a copy of the presentation was sent to all the board members shortly after the May meeting. What was not discussed, as it is outside of the committee charter, is what happens with the information and recommendations made from the pilot. Next slide, please. The committee also heard a report on the results of our ongoing mid-year risk assessment, but the bulk of the rest of the meeting was spent going over the FY 2023 work plan, which I'll go over in more detail shortly. We went over the Office of Internal Audit's dashboard, which shows the status and stages of the current work plan, professional development, and staffing of the Office for Internal Audit, and that was as recent as April of 2022. So I'll pause here before I move to a more detailed presentation to see if there are any questions or clarity that I can provide.
Are there any questions or need for clarity? Okay, seeing none, you can continue.
Can I say something real
Go ahead,
quick?
Board Member
Yeah.
Beckerly.
I think that I don't want to lose track of what Auditor Smith just shared about the presentation about the Medicaid recovery. So there were a lot of really good ideas that kind of got out of our realm at the meeting and into, we were brainstorming a little bit about ways to take advantage of this opportunity in this pilot program. So I just want to make sure we close the loop on that and hand it back off to the right people within the organization. And so I think Dr. Dixon and Treasurer Bahorek, for sure, let's make sure we circle around and figure out how to follow up on that. Maybe you already have. It's just that it occurred to me that we decided that we had to, hand it off, and I just wanted to make sure we did. So I'm doing it now.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I'll continue. Thank you.
Eric has a question.
Oh, thank you. Board Member Brown.
If you prefer that I raise an electronic hand, I can do that. Just briefly on this item with the Medicaid pilot, to what extent, if any, are we looking at how far back we can go with either resubmitting some of these or something of that sort? I suspect that there is some period of time by which claims must be filed. And if that's a couple of years, then we should be able to go back a couple of years.
President Adair, to board.
Yeah.
President Adair, to Board Member Brown, because the pilot has been going on for at least a couple of years, I'm going to say that I believe that the team has gone back to try to recapture any reimbursement that they were entitled to during that period. So now there were recommendations as far as, okay, we've done the pilot. We see there are some additional opportunities to rightfully, claim some additional reimbursements. What do we do, at this point? And like I said, it was not in the authority of the Audit and Accountability Committee, so I do believe that Chair Beckerly did make the right recommendation.
All right, thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, if we can go to slide 5. And I will switch over to the next topic, which is the Office of Internal Audit's 2023 work plan. And this is a high-level overview. I believe at Audit and Accountability, this might have been maybe a 90-minute or more conversation, so I won't do that to you tonight. So this is truly a high-level overview. But once again, the actual work plan was sent to the board right after the Audit and Accountability Committee recommended it move forward. So let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, this slide is the same one that was shared at the January board meeting. At that time, we were at the gathering stages, and now, as you can see from the highlighted red arrow, we are at the approval phase. The risk assessment and work plan has been reviewed with Cabinet and the Audit and Accountability Committee. The work plan process follows the guidance established by the Institute of Internal Auditors. Those standards require that the Chief Audit Executive establish a risk-based plan to determine the priorities of the internal audit activity consistent with the organization's goals. The Office of Internal Audit has prepared the FY23 annual plan using the risk-based methodology. The risk assessment was driven by input from the Board of Education, department leadership, management, and internal audit staff's knowledge of district operations. We also considered internal and external factors such as inflation, as we already heard, supply chain disruption, and as we also have already heard, competition for talent. Next slide, please. There's a lot to read here. I'm not going to read it verbatim. Our risk assessment supports and is in alignment with the board's goals and guardrails, as will be demonstrated in the work plan. The Office of Internal Audit has adopted the following definition that is in alignment with the Institute of Internal Audit's definition of risk, but this is more specific and I think appropriate for our organization. So we define risk as the probability or likelihood of an event or condition occurring that will have an impact on the ability of the district to execute its strategy and achieve the board's goals. As we're coming up with if the impact is going to be high risk, low risk, or moderate risk, we consider the probability, and we also consider the impact, and we have a very detailed metric that we run everything through and then come up with a scoring process. So we can go to the next slide. Okay. You can see we use a high, moderate, and low, and like I said, it's based on an assessment of the impact and the probability of something happen that will impede the district from achieving its goals. We break down the district into what we call audit units, and an audit unit is closely aligned to the district's organization chart. So as the organization changes, so you're seeing 64 audit units this year. If we increase some departments or delete some departments, this number will change. So it's very closely aligned to how the district is operated. If you wanted to see more information on the actual audit units, you can go to page 9 through 11 of the Word document that was provided earlier for you to read. No, already there, great. So looking at the district as a whole, those 64 audit units, they break down as 31% were deemed to be low risk, 13% were deemed to be high risk, and 56% were deemed to be at a moderate risk. I can say over the past, this is a great improvement from previous assessments of the district, and I anticipate that we'll continue to shrink that red and hopefully increase the green over the years. So without further delay, I'll present our audit plan for FY 2023, and the audit plan is included as part of your consent agenda when you get to that part. So we are looking at 14 engagements where I anticipate issuing some type of report out on the results of the work. There are some things that we do where a report won't be generated, but these 14 items, we anticipate generating some type of report. I would like to highlight item number 6, which is data governance, data validation, district goals, and guardrails. This is a new job, a new venture for us, and I don't know if AJ's still on the line, but he did share a document titled Goals, Guardrails, and Internal Audit. As we work on developing this job, I definitely will seek AJ's input as well as work with the superintendent and her team as the best use of our resources and our time and the best benefit that can be derived to the district and to the board regarding how we're going to go about this job. All the other engagements are pretty typical. You'll see student transportation, you'll see talent acquisition and retention. These shouldn't be any surprise. We've talked about how difficult it is to, get and retain good talent. We looked at how that's going to impact the board achieving its goals and guardrails, and if there's anything that we can do to identify and help strengthen those guardrails. That's why these items are on the work plan for this year. If we go to the next page. The only thing that I might call out on this slide is number 13, succession planning. We've talked about it for a while. With the talent acquisition and retention and the challenges that all organizations are facing, I thought this was a critical job to put on our work plan this year. The other ones, they're not just routine, but this is our first year actually tackling succession planning. So I'm kind of excited to get into this, and hopefully what we come up with will be very beneficial to the management and to the board. With that, Madam President, I will turn it back over to you for questions and comment from the chair or the vice chair.
I'll turn it over to the chair and vice chair first. Rebecca Lee Vera, any comments?
Thanks, Madam Auditor. I really appreciate the structure and the focus of this report. I think it was really well done and easy to understand. I hope everybody else felt that way. And I just want to comment that, we've been leaning hard into making sure we look at all of this through the lens, or Carolyn has, and we've been encouraging it and appreciating it, looking through this whole process through the lens of the goals and guardrails, because, it was kind of one of the first opportunities out of the blocks to really exercise those muscles in real time with the real operations of the organization. And, I think that this is a good first stab at it. We might not have it right exactly. And, we need to, work with each other in terms of what makes sense and the timing of all of it. But I'm happy about this first post goals and guardrails audit plan. So the committee does recommend it.
Thank you.
Rivera.
Yeah, and I just want to kind of echo Board Member Beckerly. I think this is a really unique opportunity, not from a place of got you, or it's really an opportunity for all of us to come together to really look at these areas to how do we just better improve to serve our kids. And so I'm excited to see just the collaboration opportunities we have available just to be able to go through this plan as one body and really looking at ways that we can improve or, just add additional layers of support. So I just want to thank the Audit and Accountability Committee, who's also been working really hard alongside of Madam Auditor and her team. And so I think it's a great start as we're continuing to build it out.
Thank you. Additional questions, comments? Okay, seeing none. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. right, we are going to now move into item 7, board matters. The first two, it is always our pleasure to make nominations for awards that are given out by the OSBA each year. I'm going to turn it over to Vice President Reyes for both items 7.1 and 7.2.
Thank you, Madam President. For the first nomination for OSBA Exemplary School Employee Award, the recommendation is for John Esson, Special Olympics Coordinator. He's here with us today. He coordinates the Special Olympics on behalf of the students of all of the Columbus City schools. In 2019, John began coordinating the Special Olympics program that was started by Sherry Andrews out of her garage in the 1980s. The program is nearly 40 years old. John is only the second person to coordinate this amazing opportunity for our students. He was chosen to pick up the mantle because he is extremely organized, patient, a great communicator, and a dedicated supporter of the athletes. He started out as a volunteer coach and has developed into a wonderful leader of this event. His work with the athletes, as well as his interactions with parents, is simply amazing. He is a fierce advocate for all of our students. His work with our Special Olympics program is felt throughout the district and the country. He implements in-school programming to give our student athletes the opportunity to compete in events that prepare them for the end-of-the-year event. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Go ahead and call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Yes?
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Vice President Reyes?
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
President Adair?
I have to abstain because I'm on the OSBA Board of Trustees, but my heart is saying yes.
And Ms. Beckerly?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Would you like to say a few words? So we get to nominate you, and hopefully you'll win. You'll find out from the OSBA, but obviously thank you so much for your dedication to our students, for coordinating this. I know we always see pictures, and I don't know if any members have been out, but I know it's just an amazing experience for these students.
Yep.
You'd like to say a couple words
Yeah,
about your program? That'd be great.
Just one quick minute. So we are year 36. We started out with 6 athletes. We're now at 250 in our alumni program, over 1,000 active students in our program as well in 51 schools. Special Olympics is very unique because it's not mandated anywhere. It's something we have chosen as a district to do. I'm actually one of 2 full-time employees in the state of a school district, so that is a huge credit to our whole district. And getting back to being a voluntary thing, those 51 schools that do it, that's their choice to do it. Nobody has forced them to do it. So I look at this as a kind of a group award for all those that help out. So I would be remiss not to recognize all the special ed teachers, IAs, everybody, adaptive phys ed teachers, to the custodians, administrative staff, athletic directors, especially the people in transportation that all really make this possible. So while I appreciate the honor for myself, I really look at this as a group award for all of those that help out with Special Olympics. So thank you.
You're welcome. Vice President Reyes.
Thank you. The next nomination category is the OSBA Friend of Public Education Award, where we're nominating Columbus City Council under the leadership of President Shannon Harding. This partnership is through the Columbus Promise, which is the Columbus Promise allows all CCS graduates to attend Columbus State Community College tuition-free with a $1,000 stipend that can be used annually for transportation, books, and other living expenses. This is a $4 million contribution by the city. It is a strong partnership with the district and the city, and it is a foundation that we hope will produce a successful city, an educational environment, and allow all our residents to be prosperous.
That is a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Vice President Reyes?
Yes.
Ms. Vera?
Yes.
President Adair?
Abstain.
Ms. Beckerly?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. In the absence of Councilmember Harden being here, I'm going to ask Dr. Dixon to say a few words about the Promise Program. We chose the Promise Program on purpose, but we also know the city has been a great collaborator with us through the pandemic needs and the summer programming and all sorts of other things. But would you kind of share a few words about the Promise Program?
Promise Program. Thank you. Again, kudos. I think when we think about Shannon Harden and his vision for this opportunity, and we have the Columbus Promise, again, is an opportunity for our students who graduate from Columbus City Schools to have an opportunity to attend Columbus State with free tuition. There are some requirements that our students have to meet, and that is they fill out the Columbus Promise application, the Columbus State application, have their FAFSA form done, and of course, graduate from Columbus City Schools. We have over 700 students that are Columbus Promise ready. That means that they have filled out all of the requirements and have the opportunity to go. One of the main highlights is the number of students who have completed the FAFSA application. And I know I can partnered with Columbus Promise with Columbus State in order to provide opportunities for families to get that FAFSA application form completed. And thank you again to I Know I Can for their advocacy in helping our families. So I think it's deserving of City Council in the work, and when we think about a public and private partnership and a way for the City of Columbus to uplift our students and be able to say that during a pandemic that we still have vision for our students, and we want our students to go to career, they get their credentials, go to college, and not have the burden of student loans. So again, thank you to City Council, especially Shannon Harden, who really championed this. Pre-pandemic, I remember a meeting in the cabinet room when he shared this idea, and I said, absolutely. And they have raised $9 million, over $9 million. I think it's $9,750,000, if I'm not mistaken. And so it really shows the power of the partnership and the belief in our students in Columbus City Schools. So thank you, City Council, and all of those partners who believed in the vision, believed in our students, and our students have an amazing opportunity, and we're just really grateful and happy for our students who are going to take on this opportunity.
Thank you. All right, we will get those to OSBA, and hopefully our nominees win. All right, we're going to go ahead and move into a bunch of policies. So we're going to start with, we'll do 7.3, 7.4, 7.5. Each one will be voted on separately, but Board Member Brown will be handling all three of these. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to you. There he goes. Turn over to you for 7.3, 7.4, and 7.5. These are second readings.
Thank you. And I guess I could have done this earlier, but can I inquire, can we take multiple policies at one time with a single vote?
No, I'm sorry. I said they're going to be single vote, but I was just giving you the floor to cover all three.
Okay.
Does that make sense, or would you like me to call each one?
No, let me go ahead with the first two for the moment, 7.3 and 7.4. These policies both pertain to the Treasurer's Office, and the first 7.3 is a very good solution to one of the problems that we've had going forward with respect to cash that's received in buildings. And the treasurer would simply extend the definition of his office to include those safes and those buildings. And that should be helpful and a very creative solution. The second one, 7.4, is simply to make it a bit easier for the board to adopt policies with a single reading if we choose to do so. We can always hold off and do a second reading if the board would like. Makes it simpler for us to do it in one reading if we'd like. And that's essentially all with respect to these two. I guess I should say that both of these were considered by the committee at the May committee meeting, and they were then presented to the board a couple of weeks ago on June 7th. And they're now here for second reading and adoption. Any questions or concerns about these two? Great, thank you. The next policy is, or do you want to take a vote on those?
Yeah,
first?
let's go ahead and do those, because I was mistaken. 7.5 is a first reading, so let's get those two finished.
Yeah, okay. I move approval of both 7.3 and 7.4.
Second.
Hold on.
The only reason why I wince is the 7.4, although I don't think it'll be a problem. 7.4 requires a different level of yes votes than 7.3. So should there be any disagreement, we'd want to do them separately. I'm assuming there probably won't be, but there's just two different vote requirements for passage.
Yes, let's take them separately.
This would be for just 7.3.
My motion is to 7.3.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Vice President Reyes?
Yes.
Ms. Vera? Yes. President Adair?
Yes.
Ms. Beckerly?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Motion carried.
And 7.4.
Second. I move.
Okay,
I move.
I second.
okay. Motion by Brown, second by Beckerly.
Got it.
Any comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Ms. Vera? President Adair?
Yes.
Ms. Beckerly?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Vice President Reyes?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Item 7.5, this is the first reading of the equity policy. I recommended it become a first reading again because the policy was kind of rewritten a lot, and so I wanted us to make sure we had the opportunity to really look at it again and send in feedback and comments. So that is why it is a first reading for a second time. I'll turn it over to you, Board Member Brown.
I think that this policy or work on this policy has extended for several years now. And at the same time, I'm confident that over the same period of time, whether this was in writing or not, the board and school district conducted itself in accordance with the policy. I believe that we have been equitable, and this will help ensure us to do better and to elevate this. It's something that's been a goal for the board for, as I said, for some time now. The Policy Review Committee worked on this for quite a while, and then it went to Dr. Blue, who worked on it with a number of people and brought it back to the policy committee. We discussed it at length. Everybody there unanimously agreed that this is a good draft and that we should recommend it to the board. So it is here with the recommendation of the GPAC committee. And I don't have anything more unless anybody has questions.
Are there any questions for Board Member Brown And we have Dr. Blue here as well. All right, seeing none, board members, please review and send feedback back in. Oh, I can't see you, Board Member Beckerly. There we go.
I don't have any questions. I had sent some written comments in, and I'm happy to not forego saying them because I shared them with everyone, but I just don't know if that's appropriate or not.
What are you
all have
asking? What are you asking?
I had some comments. I don't think I need to reiterate them. I shared them all in writing already.
Okay, yes, that's fine. We can discuss further at next meeting. Okay.
Carol, you and I can talk.
All right. So that was the first reading. No vote is required on that. 7.6, 7.7, 7.8, 7.9, 7.10, 7, that's it, 10. We'll go, no, all the way down, you want me to go?
No, it's all the way to 12.
Appeal
7.6 to
versus, doesn't matter.
7.12.
Okay, up to 7.10 is a second reading, and then we have 7.11, 7.12, and 7.13, which are repeal policies. All of these, though, will be, Dr. Breeden will be here to talk with us about. Hello, Dr. Breeden.
Hello, President Adair and members of the school board. It's great to see you all, and also Dr. Dixon. Just like you were talking about earlier, we're trying to get ready for school to start. And we really need your help in approving some policies that will help us with the first finding in the PDK audit, which was that our curriculum policies for curriculum management were inadequate. So we know you're in the middle of a policy diet and we want to be understanding with that, but we really feel we'll get off to a better start with the management of our curriculum if we can approve these policies. Also, the CCP policy is out of date, and we know when school begins, parents will want to see that policy and the administrative guidance. So we also have that for you tonight. And then we have 3 policies that are not required that we really feel fit better under AGs. And we would also like to get that all updated and put those in administrative guidance. So I hope that you can help us get ready for school.
Thank you, Dr. Breeden. So these are second reading, and let me say the numbers again because I messed up the first time. We are doing a second reading on 7.6, 7.7, 7.8, 7.9, 7.10 is to repeal, 7.11 is to repeal, and 7.12 is to repeal. I went too far, got too excited, and added 13, and we're not there yet. So those are the ones that we are doing. Are there any questions about any of them? It is a second reading. I am seeing none. No questions. So I will make a motion to approve items 7.6 through 7.12.
Second.
Is there any discussion or comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
President, you messed up my vote sheet by doing them all together. That's okay. President Adair.
Yes.
Ms. Beckerly.
Yes.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
Mr. Cole.
Yes.
Vice President Reyes.
Yes.
Ms. Vera.
Yes.
That resolution for 7.6 through 7.12 passes.
Thank you. All right, 7.13 is our board implementation timeline. And Board Member Beckerly, you help walk us through this.
We need to turn the policy diet, somebody did it already, to green. I think committee diet, we never got to, right, on the 15th. So that should be at least to beige. Operate, is this up on your screen, guys?
It is not, but go ahead.
All right. Operating procedures we didn't get to either. So we've got, a few adjustments to make, and Misty got some of the monthly minutes, time use evaluation done, and I honestly haven't incorporated it yet. So if we could put off any further discussion until I've done my job when we convene again, I would appreciate it.
Sounds good. We can do that.
All right.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we do have to keep working. We missed those two exercises. We have to reschedule with AJ. And we had a full discussion on how to do the policy diet and what we are going to do.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Board Member Beckerly. Thank you, Misty, as well, for working on the time.
Yes, thank you, Misty. I appreciate that a lot.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move into our consent agenda. This evening, our consent agenda consists of items 9.1 to 25.9. Are there any items a board member would like to remove for separate consideration? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Are there any items a board member would like to discuss on the consent agenda? I cannot see Board Member Brown, so if you are raising your hand, I cannot see you.
I am. Oh, sorry, I was. I've just a question on the 20.1, and I believe that there was a second policy that also delegated authority to the superintendent on a short-term basis. And I understand that these are primarily because we're not scheduled to meet in July, and some of these things need to be addressed more quickly than until August. The suggestion that I would have is to amend this policy, and perhaps the other one as well, to put a time limit and have these sunset, perhaps in first meeting of August.
So the two items are 17.1, delegation of authority to superintendent CEO to authorize change orders or modifications to letters of authority, and to the treasurer CFO to authorize payment. And the other one is the one you mentioned, 20.1, resolution delegating
Correct.
authority to superintendent to authorize action on property tax valuation settlements. So your suggestion is, so do these need to be pulled to do that? No. Okay, so
I would move to amend simply to put sunset provision in each of these two policies.
okay,
And
17.21
my
has
date
a
would be first meeting in August.
17.1 does have a sunset, September 30th. Is that what you were going to tell us, General Counsel Barnes?
The date ends as determined by the board, so you really don't have to pull it. You can simply, at the August meeting, sunset it yourself. You can sunset it on your August 2nd meeting.
And Mr. Barnes, I know that's possible, and I'm fully aware of that. But I think that my preference anyway, and I don't know how the rest of the board feels, is to sunset it at a date certain, knowing that we can extend it at the August meeting if we want to do that.
If you pull the resolution now, then those settlements cannot be had because the House Bill 126 is effective July 21st. So after July 21st, we cannot enter into direct settlements with property owners.
So he's not suggesting pulling it. He's suggesting
I'm not
amending
suggesting
it
that at all.
to
Okay.
add
Okay.
a sunset for the first date in August, our first August meeting.
Okay, my apologies. I thought I heard that there was a recommendation to pull it.
I wondered why you ran up here so fast.
No, just pull it as a point of deliberation, that's all.
I meant pull it up, yeah, sorry, pull it from the consent agenda if we needed to take separate action on it, but Oh, they're now deliberating that question again. Parliamentarian.
So I think what I'm hearing is that the item 17, whatever it was, already has a sunset provision, and you're okay with that?
No.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Wow, what
I'm sorry.
happened?
All right, we in the dark.
Meeting adjourned.
Let's hope this is not the beginning.
Can you hear me?
Let's all join
Yeah,
hands.
if you don't care,
Kumbaya, my lord.
Director of Operations, CEO of Operations.
You thought August 24th was going to be your issue.
Oh, the power just went out in the building. Wow.
So we are going to go into recess. That will be our official action at this minute. It's 7:14. The board has gone into recess. We will convene once we figure out what's going on.
Okay.
At the board's direction.
Wait, that's one way to stop a meeting.
I don't, well, that